Stop for a second and picture the devil. The classic caricature is unmistakable. The red skin, the horns, the tail, the pitchfork. He is the undisputed king of evil, the rival god, the ultimate enemy. But what if this image is one of history's most sophisticated and successful misdirections? What if the origin of the devil is not a supernatural drama in heaven, but a very human story of survival, politics, and power? We're not talking about mythology. We're talking about history, linguistics, and theology. The figure we call Satan was not born fully formed. He was forged over centuries by human hands responding to political conflict and existential suffering. Today, we dive into the four most shocking, counterintuitive truths about how this ultimate villain was invented, not discovered. This deep dive will fundamentally change how you view the concepts of absolute good and absolute evil. Linguistic deconstruction. The first truth is the most jarring. The word we translate as Satan was not originally a proper name. In ancient Hebrew, ha-Satan note, the definite article. They was simply a job title. It comes from the verb Satan, which means to obstruct, to oppose, or to act as an adversary. This role was a recognized function within God's celestial court. This figure was an agent of the divine, sent to act as a celestial prosecutor or a spiritual inspector general. The role was not to destroy God's plan, but to ensure its integrity by testing human loyalty. The evidence is clearest in the book of Job. The scene does not open with a demonic invasion. It opens with God holding a staff meeting. The Satan is present among the sons of God. He is a courtier, part of the bureaucracy. He challenges Job's integrity, but he is fundamentally God's agent. He requires God's explicit permission to proceed, and crucially, the limits of his actions are clearly set by God. There is no power struggle here, only a delegation of authority. To understand this point is to grasp the sheer chasm between the original Hebrew Bible concept and the later Christian Prince of Darkness. If he was just a civil servant, how did he get promoted to a rival king? The answer lies outside of ancient Israel. The foreign import. The transformation from servant to supreme adversary was triggered by historical trauma and the adoption of foreign religious thought. This occurred during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE. When the Jewish people were conquered and exiled, they encountered the Persian religion of Zoroastrianism. This faith was built on a radical, uncompromising cosmic dualism. The entire universe was defined by the eternal struggle between the supreme good deity, Ahura Mazda, and the supreme evil anti-god, Angra Mainyu. This was a worldview of absolute black and white. This concept was a powerful explanatory tool for a shattered people. It allowed them to understand their defeat, their suffering, and the seemingly overwhelming power of foreign empires not as God's punishment, but as the result of a vast cosmic war. Their earthly struggle was merely a reflection of a battle in the heavens. This dualism took root and flowered centuries later in the Dead Sea Scrolls community. This devout Jewish sect lived under crushing Roman occupation, viewing their own people, the Jewish leadership in Jerusalem, as collaborators. To explain this profound, painful internal division, they developed a detailed cosmology. Their community belonged to the Prince of Light, while their opponents, the collaborators, were aligned with the Prince of Darkness. This shift is key. The language of cosmic war had become a direct, visceral way to demonize a human enemy. As scholar Elaine Pagels noted, this shift was never just about the stratosphere. It became a political mirror for the conflict right here on Earth. The political weapon. Once the concept of a cosmic enemy was established, the authors of the New Testament Gospels seized upon it and sharpened it into a powerful political weapon. Satan appears in his full-blown capacity as the mastermind of evil, the one who rules the world and tempts Jesus. This language of demonization escalates dramatically. In the Gospel of John, Jesus tells the Jewish authorities, the people opposing him, that their true father is the devil. He is cast not merely as a tempter, but as the source of human malice. However, the most consequential use of Satan as a political tool is found in the narrative of Jesus' death. Let us look at the facts. Crucifixion was an exclusively Roman punishment, reserved for slaves and political insurrectionists. The only person in Judea who could order a crucifixion was the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Yet the Gospels written decades after the events present a radically different story. Pilate is shown as a conflicted, weak leader who personally finds Jesus innocent. He literally washes his hands of the matter, only caving to the demands of the Jewish crowds. Why invent this scene? The early Christian movement preaching a crucified man was politically suspect. They were, by association, potential traitors to the Roman Empire they lived under. To survive and successfully evangelize within that empire, the gospel writers had to minimize Roman culpability. They had to make the death of Jesus look like an internal Jewish affair, rather than a Roman execution of a political dissident. The hand-washing scene, which itself is a Jewish ritual, not a Roman one, is literary evidence of this invention. The real Pilate, as described by contemporary writers like Philo of Alexandria, was brutal, ruthless, and utterly hated by the Jewish people. The weak Pilate of the Gospels is a historical fabrication designed for political self-preservation. This politically motivated narrative, which casts the Jewish people as the murderers of Christ, the children of the devil, became the foundational text for centuries of Christian persecution and anti-Semitism. The Grand Retcon. Our final shocking truth concerns the most famous satanic association of all, the serpent in the Garden of Eden. This connection is not original. It is a theological retcon. When the book of Genesis was written, the serpent was simply a cunning creature, Nahash. The text provides no evidence, none, that this creature was a fallen angel, the leader of a heavenly revolt, or the lord of evil in disguise. That concept simply did not exist yet. It was only much later, as the concept of Satan evolved into a grand cosmic adversary, that theologians and artists retrospectively inserted him into the Eden narrative. This reinterpretation illustrates how profoundly fluid and malleable religious text can be. And this fluidity allowed for even more radical readings. Consider the early Christian groups known as the Gnostics. They completely reversed the story. To the Gnostics, the God of Genesis was actually a lesser, ignorant, and often malevolent deity known as the Demiurge, who sought to keep humanity trapped in a material, ignorant world. Therefore, the serpent was not a villain, but a heroic figure, a messenger from a higher true God, sent to bring Adam and Eve gnosis, or liberating wisdom. This radical perspective demonstrates that the meaning of these figures is not fixed by Scripture alone, but is constantly being reshaped by the human communities trying to interpret their own suffering and their own world. Conclusion. We have traced the devil's journey from a celestial civil servant to a foreign-inspired cosmic warrior, to a political scapegoat, and finally, a figure retroactively inserted into our oldest stories. The story of Satan is ultimately the story of us. It reveals our psychological need to manage suffering by casting it as an absolute battle between good and evil. While evil acts exist, the moment we label entire groups of people, our human opponents, as agents of absolute evil, we stop trying to understand them. We open the door to dehumanization, hostility, and tragedy. The devil was not born in hell. He was created in the crucible of human conflict. The question we are left with is, are we still using this powerful, ancient mythological language to avoid seeing the human face of our opponents today? If this deep dive changed the way you view history and religion, please hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe for more thoughtful explorations into the ideas that shape our world. You can find links to the foundational historical scholarship referenced here in the description below. Thank you for watching.